thank you for joining me again today. Today we're going to do a fundamentals reset and recap of all the seated fundamental exercises and how to set yourself up, just in case you've developed any interesting habits over the time we've been together. So we're going to start, as we always do, by bringing our bottoms to the front of the chair, but making sure that we've got plenty of bottom on the chair. So you might want to think about halfway. So you've got plenty of bum, but there's a gap as well, so you're not actually leaning against the back of your chair. And then if you bring your two fists together and place them between your knees, that generally gives hip width apart. So then your knees should be in front of your hip bones. And then double check that your heels are underneath your knees. And in an ideal world, we'd then have a 90-degree bend here and a 90-degree bend here to make perfect posture. It just depends on what height your chair is. So then we are going to tilt the pelvis. So we're going to very gently tuck the tailbone underneath us and then come back onto our sit bones. So a lovely little tilt and coming up nice and tall. So while you're doing this, make sure you're still breathing. You could even have your belly button lifted a touch. And this position that we're in here should really enhance your stability, having everything in a nice 90-degree bend. And then start exploring the middle points between the two. So see which point feels like you're in the extreme this way and in the extreme this way, and explore where your middle point is. And then find your position and hold it there. I did forget to say, let's just check the direction of our feet. So quite often we think our feet are facing forward when they're more likely to be something like this or like this. So double check that the toes are facing forward as well. Okay. Then I'd like you to shift your weight side to side from one sit bone to the other. And you don't actually have to lift the sit bones, I just want you to feel the weight shifting to then find your central point where you're nicely aligned in the middle. That's it. And then we're going to gently hinge forward and back. So to do this, you could bring your hand to your chest and your stomach, and then when you hinge back, you'll know that your top hand will go behind the bottom hand, and vice versa. And obviously this does depend on how large your chest or your tummy are. So imagine the bones underneath as opposed to the flesh on top. That's it. So you're bringing the top hand in front and then behind the bottom hand. And then I'd like you to find a position where that's also like you're stacked on top of each other. Perfect. So you're nice and tall, and you could use your hands to push down on your thighs to give yourself a bit of a lift upwards. When I do this, I tend to feel my tummy lifting up as well with it. So see if you can feel that sense of the stomach muscles coming inwards and upwards, just a touch as you lift yourself tall. That's it. And then release your hands and glide your shoulder blades up towards your ears, breathing in. And exhale, lower them down. So nice and smooth and slow, breathing in. And exhale. That's it. One more, drawing up. And lower down, and then see if your muscles are still holding onto them a little bit, so they're still up a little bit, and try and focus on really letting them relax down without pushing them down. And then we're going to roll them forward and roll them back. So you're rolling forward, and notice what your hands do when you roll forward. Your hands tend to face backwards. And then roll the shoulders back, and then you get a much more open chest posture. That's it. And we're going to encourage the open chest posture with the palms facing forward. And to help that happen, let's roll the shoulders forward, up, back and down. Still with your palms facing forward. That's it. And the more open your chest is, the easier it is to breathe. So a lot of time, especially if you're in pain or generally very fatigued, you tend to have that posture. But we're going to open it up, and being able to breathe better will then hopefully help you with reducing pain and fatigue. And then allow the shoulders to rest. And if you want to rest your hands, you could rest them palms up here. That's a nice relaxed posture. And then I'd like you to give me your chin. So bring your chin forward and then draw your chin back. So imagine your chin is on a shelf in front of you and you're sliding it forward and back so it stays parallel with the floor. That's it. See how many double chins you can give me as you draw the chin back. That's it. Well done. And then I'd like you to draw the chin back but without the double chins. So what we're actually doing is imagining the back of your neck is lengthening. So we're not actually doing that. We still want the chin to be parallel with the floor, but it's more about creating length here. And if I go sideways, I'll give you a demo sideways. So what we were doing is sliding forward and sliding back, giving us the double chins and forward. And then what I want you to do is find the lifted position here in your neck. So you're nice and tall, your chin is very slightly tucked backwards, but it's still parallel with the floor. So you're not doing this or this, you've drawn it back. So you're nice and long in the neck now. Okay, and then keeping that length in the neck and the chin slightly tucked back, we're going to look towards one shoulder and then towards the other. And if you do have hypermobility, just double check that you're not moving your chin beyond your shoulder. That's it, you stay in front of it. Well done. And then coming back to the centre, and place your finger on your chin. So this is going to be your pivot point here. So your neck is still nice and long. You might be using a little bit of your tummy muscles to hold yourself upright here as well. And we're going to bring an ear to a shoulder. And then up and over the other way. And we generally tend to say go just a little bit. So maybe go halfway between where you want to go and where you're upright. That's it. And that will stop you hyperextending your neck. That's it. And then bring yourself back. And we're going to then bring our ear towards a shoulder and then tilt the chin down towards an armpit and take a breath in. And then return back to the front. That's it. And ear towards the other shoulder. Tilt your chin towards the armpit, taking a breath in. And then back. And we'll repeat that a couple more times. So ear to shoulder, chin to armpit, breathing in. Coming back. That's it. While you're doing this, try and keep the shoulders still so they're not responding. That's it. And one more each side. So ear to shoulder, chin to armpit, breathing in. Back to me. That's it. And ear to shoulder, chin to armpit, breathing in. And back to me. And the final one, a nice little circle with the nose. And at this point you might notice that your spine is wanting to do this. You might be getting a bit tired. Do feel free at any point you need to rest back against the chair. Just depends how used to sitting upright in this position you are and how ready your tummy muscles are for it as well. Okay, so now you've got lovely mobilised neck, hopefully not too mobile, and you've also worked on the pelvis position and warmed up your lower spine. We're now going to move into breathing, and we like to do something called lateral thoracic breathing in Pilates, which is where we're breathing laterally into our sides and into our rib cage. So generally when people are in pain or anxious, they tend to breathe up here. So we try to bring the breath further down into the rib cage instead. And what's great is that you're then maximising your lung capacity, and you're going to focus on breathing into the deeper bronchioles. So you're making the most of what you've got. So if you allow your hands to fall down by your sides and you're still sitting tall, some of you might notice, or some of you might be able to rest the inside of your arm against the side of your rib cage, in which case you'll get a bit of better feedback here. Some people like putting a ball between, so then you get more feedback. And some people like to hug or put their hands here or use a belt around their waist. So find an option that's going to work for you. I'm going to do this one for now with you. And I'd like you to breathe in to the sides of your arms, the insides of your arms. So taking a breath in. And I'm not making my arms move. My arms are naturally opening up because the chest is pushing them out a touch. That's it. And then release them back again. Well done. So you're moving the breath deeper into the rib cage instead as you breathe in. You're keeping those shoulders relaxed. And you're focusing on the back and side of your rib cage as you deeply breathe in. And you could feel or imagine the ribs pushing the arms out as you breathe deeply in. So, and then exhale. And you'll notice the majority of the breathing that I tend to do in my classes is through the nose, because we get so many more health benefits through in and out through the nose. But you might like to explore breathing deeply in and then breathing out with a sigh. See how that feels as you go, ah. So breathing deeply in and breathing out, sighing outwards. So feel that air being pushed out, breathing in, breathing out. And what you might like to do is put your hand on your belly, and as you're breathing in, feel the rib cage expand, but then also feel the belly, the diaphragm expanding as well. And then breathing out, and notice how your abdominals just hollow a little bit underneath your hand. So breathing deeply in and out, still keeping the shoulders relaxed. It's so tempting to lift them up when you're breathing in. That's it. And as you're breathing in, your diaphragm will be lowering. And as you're breathing out, it'll be easier to contract your abdominal muscles. So you're breathing in, everything's relaxing. And you're breathing out, everything is easier to lift with your pelvic floor muscles and drawing your tummy in. And now we're talking about the core. We're going to actually move into our core muscles and focus on them a little bit more. If this is a good place for you to have a break, where you sit back against your chair, you have a wiggle, or you get some water, please feel free to do that. And you can pause this whenever you need. So otherwise, we're going to look into the abdominals. So the core, the powerhouse, centering, zip and hollow. There's loads of ways of exploring how to activate your core muscles. And the core is amazing because it helps to stabilize your torso, your limbs, your shoulders, your head, but it also allows for controlled movement of your joints as well. And most of this is subconscious, and we do want to work into subconsciously using our abdominal muscles for strength, as opposed to actively thinking, okay, I'm just about to sit up now, so I'm going to pull my belly button in and come up. I want you to think more about just a natural, gentle activation before you bring yourself up. So to start with, we're going to explore the feeling here. So I'd like you to put your hands here. And then as you breathe out, feel what happens to your hands. And to make this a bit more extreme so you can feel it a little bit more, blow out through pursed lips this time. See how that feels as you breathe in. And then blow out. And breathe in. And breathe out. So I'm still breathing deeply into the rib cage here, and the belly will be opening up as well. And then breathing out comes out through your abdominals, up through here, so everything then kind of comes in and up. Okay, so we're going to hinge back and use this breath. So taking a breath in, I'd like you to breathe out through pursed lips as you hinge back. So you're going like this, you're going. And then you could hold this position here and breathe in. And then breathe out as you come back again. Okay, give that a go. So see how it feels to breathe in here. And breathe out. Breathing in here and breathing out. And as a reminder, when I say hinge, I'm thinking of hinging at the hips as opposed to curving through the spine to come backwards. So we're keeping the spine still tall as we're hinging back. So let's try this a couple more times, breathing in. And then breathe out, imagining actually zipping from your tailbone all the way up to your belly button. And breathing in here. And breathing out, zipping back up again. And while you're doing it, you can explore the feeling of your pelvic floor muscles as well. So imagine you're trying to stop yourself from passing wind at the back. So you'll have a gentle feeling of lifting there. And imagine that zip coming right from the tailbone towards the pubic bone. And you may not feel anything at all, which is why I'm saying imagining as opposed to saying feel it. It's that potential sensation of zipping from the back passage towards the pubic bone. And to do that, it helps to breathe out. So when you breathe in, you naturally release your pelvic floor muscles. Your diaphragm is lowering down, and it in turn lowers your pelvic floor muscles. So everything's relaxing as you breathe in. And then everything contracts a little bit naturally as you breathe out. And you don't even need to do anything, just use your breath to do this, or you could explore the feeling of relaxing as you're breathing in and contracting as you're breathing out. So breathing in and then breathing out, and you could imagine that feeling of hollowing inside as you breathe in. That's it, that hollow and lift and slight tighten. And that's as you breathe out, and as you breathe in, you release it all. So you're breathing out and then breathing in. And a lot of people who have MCAS or hypermobility, EDS, or pain conditions often have very hypertonic pelvic floor muscles. And if that is you, I do suggest you see a specialist to support you with these. But what the most important thing is you start trying to use your breath to allow everything to relax, and that you're not bracing, so you're not holding these muscles for long periods of time and imagining they're holding onto your pelvis and everything, because that can then react into your back and you can end up with discomfort in your pelvic area. So we're going to explore this using our breath at the same time. So I'd like you to breathe in, imagining everything relaxing. And then breathe out, imagining a gentle lift, nothing much, nothing too extreme. And then continue to breathe while still holding that feeling of lifting. So you're still using that lifting sensation deep inside you as you're breathing. And this means that you're then not bracing, because you won't be able to breathe if you're bracing everything. That's it. You're just taking some deep breaths as you're trying to maintain that sensation of lifting. And back to breathing in and out through the nose. And then on your next in-breath, allow everything to relax. Okay, so that's exploring the core a little bit more. I want you to think about a dimmer switch now, and I know I've mentioned this before to you, where you've got this dimmer switch that can go right up to number 10. And imagine the core muscles going to 10 is where I'm going to suddenly punch you in the tummy, or you're suddenly going to do a big jump, okay? And you're going to need all the strength you need for that. Okay, so that's number 10. And for everyday life, we probably only need it to maybe a 0 or a 1. If we're sitting like this, we don't necessarily need much at all, although it does help to have a few muscles to hold you upright, because we are very used to sitting back in chairs in everyday life. So we're going to think about this dimmer switch as we do certain movements. So the first one we've already done, so it should feel a bit familiar to you. I want you to hinge back, but imagine this dimmer switch turning up as you hinge. So taking a breath in to prepare. And then exhale, just explore how much of your dimmer switch you need in order to hinge back. Are you turning it up to 10? Are you turning it up to 5 or maybe 2? Just think, and there's no real right or wrong answer, although 10 is a bit extreme for a hinge back. So breathing in and hinge back. So then explore as you hinge back. So we're going to hinge back and hold this position. So you've probably turned it up to maybe a 2 or 3. And then you're here and you're having to use your tummy a lot to stop yourself hitting the back of your chair and to maintain that lovely tall posture. See how your dimmer switch reacts as you lift an arm. So you might feel a little bit more tummy muscles are needed to lift one arm. Make sure you're still breathing at the same time, and explore the other one as well. That's it. Just keep breathing. Try both arms. See how much more your dimmer switch needs to increase as you lift both arms, and release. That's it. And it's quite tiring, so do come out of this at any point you need to. I don't want you to be straining yourselves too much. Just double check that you're still breathing at the same time. That's it. And let's take a break for a moment. So maybe do some little cat and cows. That's it. And we're going to explore it a bit more this time, but with our legs instead of our arms. So you're tall, once again, long, tall spine. You're thinking of your dimmer switch as you gently hinge back and explore how it feels to lift a leg. And you may notice a bit more contraction here. That's it. And return and try the other side as well. And double check you're not holding your breath. I know I do talk a lot about breathing, so make sure you are still breathing as you do this. Try and explore coming back And then see how it feels to lift both legs. If you feel like you can do it, if you want to, you could hold onto the chair to do it. And it will still activate those tummy muscles deep inside. Okay, if you want to do a few more, you could pause this and do a bit more exploration. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the spine. So to start with, just take a few big breaths and double check everything's had a chance to relax. And while you're doing this, we're going to explore spinal movement and starting with flexion. So we're going to start with the 7 vertebrae in your cervical area, so your neck. So allow your chin to tuck slightly, very slightly, and bring it down until your shoulders feel like they want to come forward, in which case we can explore the thoracic region. But before you do this, anyone who's got osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, or ruptured discs, keep your hands on your thighs so this movement isn't loaded, but also try not to go to extremes. So instead of bringing a massive curve into your spine, a very gentle one with your hands on your thighs will encourage some movement, but also protect your back. So going to the 7 in the neck, first of all, 7 vertebrae, we're going to gently curve. That's it. And then we're going to the thoracic region. So gently curving that. So think about each of the 12 vertebrae in your thoracic region. That's it. And then you'll get to the point where you start feeling like you're coming forward, because that's the lumbar area as well. So think of the 5 vertebrae in your lumbar. And then the sacrum, which is usually quite fixed. So at this point, you'll be probably hinging at your hips a bit here as well. And then take a breath at your point that feels good to you. And exhale as you start stacking yourself back up. So your lumbar back up on top of your sacrum. Thoracic vertebra back up on top of the lumbar. Ending with the neck. Okay? And give it another go. Do this gently. Imagine each of the vertebrae unstacking one at a time. And then restacking them back up again. So imagine they're like Lego blocks and you're building them back up, one on top of the other, creating a tall tower. And let's do one more. And rolling your way back up. And of course, if you don't need to protect your spine, if there's nothing that you need to worry about within your spine, obviously we always need to look after our bodies, but you could explore it without the hands, and you could roll down and roll a bit deeper and then come back up again. And if you need to make room for your tummy so you can still breathe while you're upside down, open your legs up. Bring your tummy in between your legs, and then you could roll down between your legs instead. Rolling back up. And that one might feel quite nice to you, and you can still breathe without being compressed with your tummy. That's it. And return. Okay, so from here we're going to go into lateral flexion. So you'll notice that I'm just realigning my feet again. So my heels are underneath my knees, my toes are facing forward, my knees are in front of my hips. So lateral flexion, side stretches. So we're going to come up tall. We're going to imagine reaching down towards the floor. That's it. And then coming back up again. So I'd like you to think about your necks when you're doing this. So instead of going like this, keep your neck nice and tall on top of your shoulders as you reach and return. And the other side. So lateral flexion. That's it. And you can add load to this by using the body weight of your arms by reaching. I call this one I'm a little teapot, so you could reach and then return and then reach. While you're doing this, double checking you're still breathing at the same time. That's it. And for a hint about breathing, what you could do if you want to is breathe in as you reach and exhale as you return. And that means that you can use your abdominals to pull yourself back. Should we do one more each side? That's it, final one. Well done. Okay, so now we're going to go into extension. As I said before, in terms of looking after your spine, just double check you're not going to make this too big, especially if you have hypermobility, ruptured discs, osteoarthritis. So put your hands on your thighs and draw them back as you then bring the tailbone towards the back of your head. So you've created a curve in your spine here. You'll notice that I'm not increasing the curve towards my neck. We don't need to be hanging our heads backwards. I suggest you look up towards where the wall meets the ceiling and keep the back of your neck long, and then gently come back to a tall position again. Okay? At this point, you might like to do a little bit of flexion too, because it feels really good moving between the two. So moving into extension, lifting the chest up, tailbone to the back of the head. That's it. Still looking after your neck, and then moving back to a neutral position or a curve. Okay. So that's doing it while you're not loading, so you're putting your hands on your thighs to support, and you could draw the hands back and then draw them forward. So then that's almost a cat and cow. If you would like to increase this a little bit, you could bring cactus arms in. So you could lift the chest, bring the arms up, and then relax. That's it. So your tailbone's going to the back of your head here, and then relax. Well done. Okay, so moving into rotation. To start with, do the L shape with your thumb and your fingers, and rest the thumb on the nape of your neck and the chin on your fingers, okay? And rest your elbows against your chest as well. So we're going to start with a rotation of the lower part of your spine, and there isn't that much rotation there with the lumbar region. So you're gently rotating, and you'll notice I'm not going very far, and return. And by holding the elbows down on the chest and resting the chin on the fingers, it means that the rest of your spine isn't trying to assist at this moment. So a very small move. And then explore the feeling when you have your elbows up. So then you're actually bringing in the thoracic region of your spine as well as you're rotating. That's it. It'll be so tempting for you to be kind of shifting your hands around, but keep them where they are so your neck isn't tempted to get involved. And then allow the neck to get involved. So allow a rotation, and then return, and then the other way. What you might notice is your leg wants to push forward as you're rotating, but I want you to try and keep it steady and in the centre as you move. And you could add load to this by bringing the arms out, just double checking the shoulders are down as you rotate, and then return, and rotate, and return. Just double checking that the hands don't go behind the shoulders, and your chin doesn't go all the way round to the back. Well done, and relax. Right, we're going to do a saw movement. So making sure you've got enough bum on chair and open the legs a little bit wider. To start with, we're going to do a saw is a combination of forward flexion and rotation, reaching the hand to the opposite side. So we're going to try that first of all, but with the hand staying there. So I'd like you to rotate, see your hand is coming back, and then reach to the opposite hand and lean forward. Okay, so this is a very safe, gentle version of the saw as you rotate and reach. And this is great for people who want to do this but are worried about what could happen to their spine. So you're being really lovely and gentle. That's it. And then if you don't have any complications in your spine, anything that you need to be aware of or watch, you could do the full version of the saw by bringing the arms out and rotating and reaching towards wherever is easy or not too challenging for you to reach. So it might be the inside of your foot, it could be the inside of your calf muscles, it could be the knee. Okay, so I'd like you to breathe in here and exhale and reach. Breathing in, coming up. Exhale and reach. So breathing in. Exhale and reach. That's it. Okay, one more each side. And then coming back. And we've done a lot of sitting up and moving the spine and exploring the core muscles. So to end this session, let's do some cat and cow, stretching everything out a little bit. So bringing me an angry cat where your spine hunches, you tuck your tailbone underneath, you bring your forehead towards your pubic bone, but not too much. And then bring the tailbone towards the back of your head, drawing the shoulders back. That's it. Well done. And then sitting tall, we're going to end the class, as we always do, with a celebratory breath in, reaching the hands to the height that's available to you. And exhale, press the hands down, past your chest, and bring gratitude to bringing you here today, but also to your tummy muscles for enabling you to sit upright for so long. Well done, everybody. Lovely to see you. I will see you soon.